Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Epps. I am the Member Services Manager at Georgia MLS, and I just realized I've never actually had myself on this big of a screen before. So here's how today's going to go. We are going to do a quick tiptoe through a little program within Paragon called Client Collab. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Client Collab is an aspect of the Paragon system that allows for you to not only set up contacts, but create automated email drips along with a Collab Center page that you can use to help expand upon your branded web presence online. So let's go ahead and drill down and take a look at that really quickly. Pick my screen. All right, so now if you guys are, if we're all on the same page, you can see right now we are currently on Paragon. Now, first and foremost, the number one question I always get is, Greg, how do you have such a swanky looking screen? And just so we're all aware, you can always go up to Preferences. And from your Preferences, if you click on System, you will have the ability to go through and change that to whatever you need it to be. If I go to User Interface here, notice how we've got a drop down, so I can select from the 80s, which I have now, or the Northeast, which is really just Maine, and I'm not too pleased about that as an ex-New Yorker, but whatever. We can also do the Midwest, Southwest, things of that nature. So every time I teach a class and I open up Paragon, even though I'm not covering this, it always ends up being the first question that gets asked. So just wanted to point that out for you. Now, to get started and to work with the Collab Center, really your main focus is going to be this contacts section here. This is going to be your starting and stopping point to get all of this going. And as we go through the creation of it, I'll walk you through all of the different aspects of the Collab Center and hopefully be able to give you a good glimpse as to all of its functionality and how it can help you in your business. Now, step one for anything that we're going to do with the Collab Center is go into contacts, and we are going to create a contact. Now, for those of you that don't know or are unaware, if you're any new agents here, you have the ability to add a contact by simply going up to the Contacts tab like we have at the top of the screen and selecting Add Contact. I know, fairly self-explanatory, right? One thing to keep in mind, once we get to this contact screen, notice there is a lot of information here. This is essentially going to be a Rolodex of information for your clients. I say that because you can fill this out as much as you want, and there's a lot of room for you to fill out things. But all we need for you to create a contact is a first name, a last name, and an email address. All right. Once you've done that, all you have to do to get started and to save that contact is to click the button that says Save in the top left portion of the screen. Now, once I do that, it's going to save and think. Notice how it asks, the very first thing it asks when you save that is, would I like to associate a property to this contact? Now, the reason for that being, once you've created the contact, your contact can go down one of two paths. That's going to be the buyer path or the seller path. If they are a buyer path, that's how we're going to take the steps to set up that email drip. If they're a seller, much like we have with this prompt here, you can take the property that you have for them within the service and associate that property with this contact. Now, in doing so, whereas on the buyer side, you'll receive an email drip, they'll receive an email drip, or they can go to the Client Collab page to search for listings. On the selling side, what your client's going to get is a daily report similar to an email drip, but instead of providing them with listings for them to search for, it's going to give them the traction that your listings are going to have within the service. So, you know, whenever you enter a listing into Georgia MLS, you can view how many agents have looked at it, how many people from the public have viewed it on any public sites. All of that information that you're going to get on that, I believe it's called the activity plan. I can show you here in a second. All of that information is going to be what gets sent to your seller. So if you are dealing with a seller at this point and you're creating a contact, it's really good for you to go ahead and associate a property right then and there when it asks you to give you that prompt. I'm going to select not now just so we can go on and see some other things though. Hey Ruby, hey Jet. All right, so once we've gone in and created our contact, I just want to point this out here. Look at that, they beat me to the punch. So we've got our contacts that we've listed up. As you can see, I've used myself several times. But for those of you that have large data sets, you have a lot of contacts, you already have a CRM where you've imported a lot of people into, you fine-tuned it. Maybe you want to bring that contact information into our service. Well, you can do that at the top of the screen here from contacts. Notice that we have import. So you can import an Outlook CSV file, or you can import your contacts from Google. Now that Outlook CSV file is not just limited to Outlook, it is a full-fledged CSV file. So if you use something like Lone Wolf or any of the other CRMs that are on the market, you'll be able to export that information out with the CSV and upload it into the system there, okay? Now, once we've created the contact, they're all gonna show up underneath our contact screen here. We've got several people. Today we're going to focus on Clem Fandango and figure out how he's going to do what he does. So if I click on that contact, it's going to take us over to that contact dashboard. Now, not only will you have a screen that's going to show you all of your contacts in a one-line report grid form, but you can also drill down to the individual contact, and from there, you're going to be able to see an overview of all of their activity. So if you have any notes, tasks, documents, if you created any CMAs and saved it, they'll show up there. Also, if you have any searches for them, they're going to show up under the search activity. So instead of you having to drill down, you'll be able to see if there are any new matches, if anything has changed, if your client has clicked on and viewed any of the listings to decide that they like them or don't like them, things of that nature. That can all be sussed out directly from this initial dashboard view. Now below that, there's a host of other information that you have at your disposal. That contact information tab, that's going to take you back to their demographic information. So you can add numbers, you can add a spouse if you want. If you need to update an email address, you can do all of that directly from the screen. Below that, you notice that we have buyer activity and seller activity. Well, like I mentioned before, depending on what this contact's doing within the system, you can add them as a buyer, and that'll allow for you to create searches that I'll show you how to do here in a second. Likewise, if they're a seller, you will have the ability to associate that property, and all it wants you to do then is to select the listing, you put in the list number, and then it's going to tie that property to that contact as the seller. Along with being able to look at the buyer and seller information, you can, if you have any CMAs that are saved for that individual, they will all be housed here. There's a more information section where you can add notes pertaining to that individual contact. If you have any tasks that you have set up for them, whether it's in your company or one that you've set up for yourself, you can add those tasks here to have a to-do list if you want. I'll be honest, the more information section of the contact screen rarely gets used, not for a lack of usefulness, but just because most of our members already have some sort of pre-existing system in their office that allows for them to cover tasks, documents, financials, and things of that nature. There is a message history section. So if there are any messages that have gone out, if you set up any email drips, or if you send any emails to your client directly through the system, it's going to house all of them for you. It's going to timestamp and date them. Not only that, but you can click on any one of those emails, and if you scroll down below it, it's going to show you the email that was sent and the properties that were associated with it. I like to bring this up because a lot of us set up email drips and we carbon copy ourselves on every email that gets sent out, which generally means that you may have a lot of people or get a lot of emails. So this is just going to store it for you so you don't have to do that. Now, Chet, looks like you have a question.
I was a few seconds late to this meeting here, but are we just going over what Paragon can do for us, or is this the Vulcan 7 as well?
I have no idea what Vulcan 7 is because we don't deal with that with Georgia MLS. This was covering the Client Collab Center within Paragon.
10-4.
Yeah. Is just so I'm, for my own edification, is Vulcan 7 system that Max 1 uses?
I'm not sure. That was my understanding of what this Tech Thursday was going to be over, was Vulcan 7.
Well,
no, actually, I apologize. This Tech Thursday is all about Georgia MLS. And this is about how to set up your contacts and also how to utilize them to collaboration. You'll see a lot of powerful tools in this section.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'm actually going to be doing Vulcan 7 next week.
Ah, there we go. All right, cool. Now we're all on the same page. I was starting to sweat for a second. I was like, oh no, am I supposed to know a product that I haven't even heard of? All right, so we're
it's okay. And Chet, just so you know, Chet's new with us, Greg. So Chet, we will record this in Workplace so you can review it when you can attend in person, okay?
Very good, thank you.
Awesome. All right, so we left off on the message history. And then finally, we have our contact summary. Looks like we've got Cheryl, and I thought I saw Courtney come in. Hey guys, we are covering Collab Center today. Right now, we're just going through the contacts, so it's perfect time to come in because we haven't actually gone in to show you how to set up the email drip or things of that nature. Now, real quick, because the bulk of what I'm going to talk about today is going to be under that buyer activity, but I did want to show you the information that's going to be shown and or sent out to your seller. If you do decide to associate a property with that seller. For those of you who are aware, and let me where are we going to do this? Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to log in as somebody else so that we can see what the listing's going to look like. Little known fact, if you're ever calling someone in tech support and they can't figure out what's going on with your computer, they will always have the ability to go in and impersonate you so they can take a look at themselves. It'll save you a lot of time. All right, so we're going to go out to our listings. I'm going to go to maintain listings. And of course, I have, tell me she's got some listings. No whammies, no whammies, no whammies. There we go. All right. So looking at I've got all of these are off market, but it really shouldn't matter much. If I go to any of these listings, any listing that you put in the service, and you click on select an action, notice that we have different fields here. Always on the right-hand side, every listing that you have is going to have this select an action section. By clicking on that, it's going to provide you with a whole bunch of information here. And all right, where are you? We are looking for view activity report. So anytime you create a listing in Georgia MLS, whether it's whatever the property type is, once you put that listing into the service, a counter is started. And that counter can be found under the view activity report. Now, if I click on that, it's going to provide you with updated information pertaining to your listing within the service. Now, keep in mind the listing that we're looking at here is a dummy listing because Broker Glenda is not a real person, hence the $999 million price tag there. But the pertinent information is going to be what's shown here under listing statistics. Anytime you create a listing or anytime you put a listing into the service, from the minute that it enters the service, we start a counter that's going to show you any time that that listing has served as a match for any contacts that are in the system. If any time the property detail report has been viewed for that individual property, that's going to be denoted here. Anytime it's viewed from an email, anytime it shows up as a favorite or a possible in somebody's Client Collab Center website, it's going to show up. If it's ever emailed from the system, so if any agent that's a member of Georgia MLS ever emails this listing out to a client through Paragon, it's going to be counted here. Out to the right-hand side, we have total hits. Notice that we have agent hits and unique agent hits. Now, the difference between the two, it's the same with client hits and unique client hits, is that let's say you and I look at a property. We're both looking at the one property, but I look at it 99 times and you look at it once. Well, if we go to this activity report here, it's going to say agent hits 100, unique agent hits 2. So this section here is a great way for you to gauge if people are looking at the property multiple times. This is also a really good way for you to take a look at how this is your property is being marketed. If you happen to notice that there are far more agents looking at it than their clients or vice versa, you may want to try and make adjustments to how you're presenting that property to get those numbers up. Regardless, however you use this information, if you do associate a property with a client, they are going to receive a daily report. It's going to look, it's very streamlined. It's almost like a Apple or Facebook look where there's a lot of clean space, shiny, bright icons that show you the number of people that have looked at it. Has anybody looked at your listing through Facebook? Things of that nature. And all of that's going to be sent out to them in either a daily, weekly, or monthly email that you can set up just like you would an email drip. So just wanted to point out, while I don't have an active listing to actually associate with this context account so that we can see those reports, I did want to at least pull up the activity report so you can see the type of information that's going to be sent out to them. I would also recommend going forward, just because, let's be honest, we're all going to forget about 90% of what I say as soon as we walk out of here. So once we're done, it always helps to create yourself as a contact. If you have a listing, you can associate that property with yourself so you can see what those reports are going to look like. If you're dealing with a seller, you can always create this contact for the seller, associate the property to them, and then copy yourself on the emails they're going to get, just so you get a good idea of what that report's going to look like from the seller's side. All right. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop impersonating Glenda. And we're going to go back to taking a look at how we set up. There we go. And of course, it logged me out. How to set up that email drip, because that seems to be the most popular thing that I get asked about in regards to Paragon and Paragon's functionality. All right, so we're going to go back into Paragon. We're going to go back to that contact section, because remember, whatever you're going to do, if you're exporting information out to your clients, all of that's going to start with that contact screen. So instead of going to add contact, I'm going to go to view manage contacts. It's going to give us our contact list, and I'm going to select that first one here, Clem Fandango. So we've added our contact in. Now I want to show you from the buyer's perspective how you can go in and create a search and decide whether or not you're going to set it up as an email drip or do the client collab. Now keep in mind, the steps to do this are going to be step 1, create the contact. Step 2, create the search. So I'm going to go over to Clem. He's our contact of the day. And I'm going to go ahead and select buyer activity. Now notice under buyer activity, it's going to give us a whole list here. All of these are previous searches that I've already set up for this individual. It's worth noting that there's no limit to the number of searches you can set up for an individual contact. Likewise, there's no limit to the number of contacts you can set up to an individual search. So if you're working in a large subdivision and you have several clients that are possibly looking to purchase in that area, you can set them all up with the same search. They're not going to know, because they're not going to know they're getting the same emails. Now, to create and add to the search, or add a search to this particular client, I'm going to scroll down and notice that we have add search right here at the bottom. That big green plus sign is going to be your go-to. So we're going to click on add search here. Now, if you notice, right now it takes us to a saved search screen where it asks us if we want to add a new saved search or load an existing saved search. This kind of plays into what I was talking about before, about how you can associate as many contacts to a search as you'd like. So if you have a particular search that works for your area, you can always just load that existing saved search. For the sake of today, I'm going to go ahead and click add new saved search. And it's going to allow for us to select our property type. It is worth noting here that you do have the option of doing multi-class. So for those of you that are looking for specialized properties, you can go across property types if you need to cast a wider net to be able to pull in more information. I know I helped a broker not too long ago who was dealing with purchasing a horse farm. So having that multi-class came in handy for him to cast a wider net to be able to find what he was looking for, whether that was underneath a acreage and farm, or in some odd cases it even showed up under lot. But in this case, we're going to select single family detached.
Hey, Greg, when you have time today, will you go over the multi-class, just out of curiosity?
Oh, sure. I mean, I could do that right now, just so we're all aware. I'm going to go up to search, and just so for those of you that are new, if I go, notice here, I'm going to search and I'm selecting multi-class, and I still have the ability to go right back to contacts where we were before. But just to show you guys, it's the exact same search screen that we were dealing with normally. Okay. I open all of it up. We've got our primary criteria, our dates criteria, and our agent office criteria. So the workflow is going to be the same whether you're doing a commercial search, a single family detached search, or a multi-class search. The key difference here is, if you notice, unlike the other searches that you have in property type, you have all of the property types listed here. Now, you're not required to do a default across all of them. So if you want, you can just simply click on the magnifying glass. And notice that it has all of the property types selected. You just pick and choose whichever ones you want. So if you want to do, let's say, a customized residential search, well, maybe you want to include single family attached, detached, and multifamily in it. Maybe you're looking for something along the lines of a land lot, commercial, and acreage and farm. This is taster's choice, however you want to arrange, group, and search, but it will, or the system does allow for you to go through and search across all those property types at once. You can even throw in the rentals if you want, just to cast the widest net possible. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is your fields are going to be reduced to the ones that go across all different property types. But if there's specific fields that you would like to add and or search by, you'll always have the option to do so by going over there to customize, then selecting fields. And while it's going to give you all of the different choices that you have, the key thing here is depending upon the property or the field you're looking for will depend upon the property type you're in. So maybe there's certain fields and certain commercial fields that you want to add. Well, in order to do that, you just go to the drop down, select the property type you're looking for, and then add the appropriate fields over from that property type. So all of that's going to be done directly under the search screen. You simply select which property type you're looking for. In this case, we're going to go multi-class. It's going to open up with the standard search screen for you, and you'll have the ability to select across all property types, pick and choose whichever ones you want that work for you in the search, and then you'll just go about running that search like normal. Make sense, everyone? All right, you guys aren't shaking your head or shaking your fists at me, so I'll take, no, I'm kidding.
Yes, I guess, so I guess quick question for you, with those different classification type in the search, would it, if you put something in there say contains or does not contain, would it cross-reference in that aspect? I'm trying to get some.
It's going to cross-reference. It will cross-reference, but keep in mind, it's only going to cross-reference those listings that have, or it's only going to pull in those listings that have that field. So if you're looking for, I'm trying to think of a commercial, hold on one second, let me pull one up just as an example. If we go over here to commercial, let's say construction status. If we pulled in, or current zoning, if we pulled in current zoning and used that as a field, if we did that as if we select it, it's only going to pull in those listings that have that current zoning field filled out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's, okay, all right. So that's going to be your best bet. I always try to say when it comes to stuff like this, especially if you're doing multi-class, cast the widest net you can when you do the initial search, especially when dealing with the property types, and then parse down from there. You may run into a situation where you'll have to have a larger data set than you're used to, simply because let's say you put in a field that isn't reflected across single family detached and acreage and farm. You don't want to lose out on those single family detached sources. So maybe you don't put in that specific field. So you will have to do a little sifting through to find it, but it is possible to do. We have several agents that use it exclusively, just that multi-class search. Okay. Great question, by the way. I don't often get that one. So if you guys have any others, please, I hate the sound of my voice. So just chime in with a question and I will shut up and answer it. All right. So where we left off before we got to multi-class was we were dealing with our contact, Clem. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to associate a search with that contact so we could start that email drip in that Collab Center view. All right. So right now we're on the search screen, but notice we're on the search screen underneath the contacts tab. And that's because this search that we're running right now isn't for ourselves. It is to save to that client so that we can associate that search with them. You'll do the search just like normal. You can do a map search if you want. I'm going to try, let's see, the fastest way for me to get a low search count. There we go. Got it down to 49. Generally speaking, the thing to keep in mind here is when we're setting this up, because this is either going to be an email drip or the Collab Center, you're going to want to try and parse that initial search down as much as possible, because what will happen is in either case, that initial search that's going to come through will be that large data set, and then you can continue to trickle in new listings that meet their criteria, whether it be in the email drip or whether it's the Collab Center where everything's going to be housed, okay? So once you've got this search created, once you've met your client's needs, whether it's the property type, all the fields that need to be filled out, instead of running search, we're going to go up here and we're going to save search. Because remember, we're not running this for ourselves, we're saving this for our client. So I'm going to click Save Search. You can select Save Search or Save Search As. It's going to provide you with the same information. Notice that we're under the Contact tab because the system already knows that we're saving this for our contact. We can give it whatever name we want. And also notice below that it says assign to contact. We've got our contact in here, but let's say you're dealing, let's say we're setting this up for Clem and Clem's spouse is sitting right next to him. Well, what we can do is if I don't have the spouse in the system, I can just simply go down to add new contact, put in the spousal information right here, and then I can associate that search to them as well. So they're both getting their own independent email. In this case, we're just dealing with Clem. So I'm going to click save. There we go. I think it's thinking. There we go. Once I've clicked save, notice it takes us back to our client screen, but the screen looks a little different because we have the search that we just created, Max 1 is the best, located underneath add search. So that lets me know that's the newest search. So we've got our search, we've got our Collab Center information. Now is where we make our decision. Notice how we've got automatic notifications, and I've got 3 choices. I can set this to off. A lot of people wonder why that's set to off. Well, if I've got 3 searches set up for you, and let's say one is for a split level, one is for a ranch, and one is for a 2-story, and you decide you don't want to live in a ranch, well, I can just go to that ranch search and turn it off so that they won't receive anything. Notice how it makes the screen blank. Second choice is email. If I select email under automatic notifications, that's going to pull up our email notification screen. This is your email drip. From here, you can enter in the client's information. You can notify the spouse. You can blind copy, carbon copy, whoever you want. You can select to have yourself carbon copied so that you get a copy of the email that's sent. Notice that we've got our subject, our view results. This is of importance here. You can choose between any one of these to show up as, or to have that go out to your client. It's going to default to client detail, but you can also have them receive a multi-photo flyer, 1-page report, single photo flyer, thumbnail. All of these can be set up to be sent out to them on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Below that, we have our type. Now this is going to be a notification trigger. Notice that it says price change and new match. If I click on the magnifying glass, I also have the ability to select tour, open house, status change, or initial photo. Any of these that I select, once I click save, what this does is anytime a listing goes through a price change, becomes a new match, has a status change, or gets an initial photo added that puts that property into the range or scope of the search of your client, it's going to trigger a notification to go out to them. So this just helps define what initiates listings.
Greg?
Yes.
Would the client then receive you in your initial search, you narrowed it down to 49 results. Would the client receive 49 emails from you, or are they all 49 results compiled into one email?
Great question. They're going to receive that initial email is going to have 49 results. And then going forward from there, how they receive those will depend on how you want to set it up. So case in point, just so we can see, I go out here, see here where it says notify. I have the choice between notifying them immediately or recurring. Now, just so you know, and I am a person who's currently in the market looking for a home, inventory is so low, it's frustratingly low to be able to find something that works, because 9 times out of 10, it sells before I can get my grubby little hands on it. So in an instance like that, I can set, if I was a client, I would be set up immediately, which means that initial email is going to send me all of those listings that we did in that initial search. But then going forward from there, anytime a listing hits the service that meets my criteria, I will get an email for that individual listing. Okay. Now, if you're dealing with a client that doesn't want to receive individual emails, because let's be honest, if in the course of a day, 75 listings meet that client's criteria, then they're going to receive 75 emails. And some people don't want that. So what you could do is then go to recurring. Now, if I select recurring, it's going to allow for me to set a time frame. If I click on set the time frame, notice here we've got reoccurrence schedule. So I can set this up so that they can receive an email daily, weekly, or monthly. And what that is, and below that, I can set up the notification time. So I can dictate what time that email gets sent out to them daily, or in whatever frequency I want to set it up. And that way, what they're getting is more of a summary of the listings that meet their criteria. Most people just set it up so that they get the report daily. Thing to keep in mind, if they're going to get it daily, if one day nothing meets their criteria, they're just not going to get an email. It's only going to send out an email if their listings have been are there that meet their criteria. So it's really taster's choice. It depends on a client by client basis, I guess, as to which way you want to go, whether it's immediately or recurring. Because some people do want that immediate, kind of like how it is with Zillow, where they get those instant updates whenever something hits. I know we set it up. I don't want to call it petty because that's above my pay grade, but it is hilarious to me that if it takes 15 minutes from a listing to hit our service to go to Zillow and get sent out to a client, it takes 10 minutes for the listing to hit our service and get sent out to the client Collab here. So it's just slightly faster than Zillow if you want to go through the email notification on the Collab Center. Now, once you've selected whether it's recurring, you can just fill out the body of this email. Keep in mind, whatever you put in here is going to be the body of every email that they receive. So you may not want to put in an essay. We have a lot of people that write little 5-paragraph letters to their clients without realizing that their clients have to look at that every day. But once you fill out that information, all you have to do is click OK, and then that gets the ball rolling on starting that email drip. Okay? So just to reiterate.
Hey, really quick, Greg.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
On the initial photo or new match and status change, do you want to like dictate what kind of status change? Because a lot of people don't want to know if the property's under contract, especially for buyers. They want to know when.
You're 100% correct, and that's why if you noticed, I just added those to show you. 9 times out of 10, or the default actually for the email drip is just price change and new match. So
okay.
Anytime you set it up, even if you don't touch anything, you just put in the information and click OK, it's going to it defaults to price change and new match. I just added those others. And I'll be honest, these are very specific to our open house status change and initial photo. Most times when you see status change and initial photos, those are added by agents who don't want to have to do daily searches. So they set this up for themselves, almost like a hot sheet, just so they can see what's new on the market. That's more internal. So it's more agents setting it up for themselves. Stuff that goes out to the clients is usually just the price change and the new match.
Okay. Because we have a lot of clients right now that like to help themselves, and so therefore they want to know the tours and open house. Just make sure you educate your client, let them know to let the listing agent know that they are represented.
Now that is
so there's no issue down the road.
That's a fantastic segue for me because that brings up the very next point. So we've gone and we've set up the email drip, but let's say, and I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel here. We are dealing with a client that's more hands-on. They want your help, but they want to be able to come to you for that help. They kind of like to take the reins and feel like they're rolling their sleeves up and getting their hands dirty in the searching of a listing themselves. In that case, what I would recommend is instead of going with the email drip, we're going to go down to that third option, which is the Collab Center. Now, the Collab Center is very similar to the email. The one difference is instead of relying and having your clients have to rely on the email to get the listing information, the Collab Center creates its own landing page. It's almost like a third-party website that your client can go to, and instead of having to look at the emails, they can create a login and password so they can log into that site any time of the day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. They can look at all the listings that get sent because instead of it coming in an email, it's going to be a house on that landing page. And well, I'll go ahead and show you what all you can do with the functionality of that once here in a second. But just wanted to notice here when we were on email, it only gave us the information pertaining to that specific email drip where it pulls up the email information here. If I change that drop down to Collab Center, it's going to open up a whole host of other information for us. So it's going to give us our activity information. And notice you can set that up for days back. So it's almost like you have a little hot sheet specifically for your client and their search. If they leave any comments, meaning if they're looking at a listing and they have anything to say about it, it's going to be housed under here under the comment section. You will receive emails in real time if they communicate with you. So you don't have to worry about being tethered to Paragon and having to log in to see if there's any activity going on. If somebody selects a listing or if they comment on that listing or have any questions for you about that listing and they type it into the system, you're going to get an email notifying you that that has occurred. All right, looking at the Collab Center, now we have our settings. If I click on that, it's going to pull up our advanced email settings. Now, keep in mind, this looks similar to the email drip, but this isn't because it's for the Collab Center. So some things are different here. So you notice we've got our notification date range. It's always going to be a year. They will have access to that website. You can turn that off at any point in time. You could also just select off from that drop down that we looked at before if you want to turn it off. You will have the ability to deal with the notification triggers. You have more flexibility to select how information is being divvied out, because while your client can always access the Collab Center page, they'll also get emails, so they don't have to every time. If they just want to wait and see what's coming, they can get notifications immediately or recurring, just like we did with the email drip. More importantly, though, as an agent, you have the choice to decide whether you want to receive that immediately or recurring as well. So if your client wants to get an email every time a listing hits the service, they can do that. But if you don't need to get it immediately and instead just want to get one large report at the end of the week showing you everything your client saw, you can set that up as recurring so that it works that way for yourself. You put their the email information in, and you can click OK. And once you've done that, you've essentially done the fine tuning for the Collab Center. Now I'm going to click View Collab Center just so you can see what it's going to look like, because as soon as you create this and click OK and send, it's going to send an email out to your client letting them know that they've been invited to the Collab Center. They can create a login and password, and that anytime they need to look at listings, they can simply go into the Collab Center to view that information. So let's take a look at the Collab Center real quick. And I know it's 10:34 now. This is the tail end of this, so hopefully we'll get here under the wire for any questions and things of that nature. It's going to take a second to load, especially if this is the first time we've run it. There we go. All right, so looking at the dashboard, a couple of things to point out. First off, I am not Eddie Haskell, but apparently I play one in the system. This will be replaced by your photo. It'll have your name, it'll have your information on it. If you click on Contact Me, it's going to take you over to your branded page. So it'll have your information, your phone number, your office number. It'll also have a space for you to put in an About Me section. So if there's any biographical information that you want, it'll also have all of your office information here as well. That link right there with my email address, they can click on to send me an email directly from this page. So there is some branding that goes on within the page. Now going below that, notice that we have buyer activity here. Just so you're aware, if I set Clem up as a seller or as a buyer and seller, search in each, there would be a seller's tab as well that they could click on to view that activity report that we looked at earlier on today. So this is going to work on both sides of the coin. But looking at the buyer side, if I scroll down, we've got our updates dashboard and my listings. Now the updates dashboard, now notice there's a lot of numbers here, but that's because I can house every search that I've set up for this individual client all at once. Now they can view all of the information in one single search, but if I want to drill down, I can select the one that we created today, which is Max 1 is the best. And it's going to reorient all those numbers for me. So notice now we've got 49 new listings. Now, as I log into the system on a daily basis, if there are any price changes that occur with any properties in our search results, they're going to show up here. If any of those properties have gone through a status change, they're going to show up here. If there are any open houses associated with any of the properties that meet my criteria, I can just click on this link right here and it'll show me those. The 49 updates lets me know these are the total ones that I haven't looked at. 49 new means that there are 49 new listings for me to see. So tomorrow, this number could be 59, and this number will be 10 because there are 10 new listings that have been added to the Collab Center page since I last logged in. Moving out to the right-hand side, this is where I can see what I've viewed within the system. So this tells me the total number of listings that are out there that I haven't looked at and rated. For every listing that we look through, I can mark it as a favorite, a possible, or rejected. Keep in mind, all of this is going to be sent to you in real time. Just as an example, looking at this property here on North Eugenia, if I like it, I can go ahead and select favorite. And notice how the favorites number increases and the undecided number drops. So your client can actually go through and parse through and rate every single property that shows up on this page. You'll also get information pertaining to it. The agent picks are going to be if you save any listings to your cart and save that to the client, it'll show up as an agent recommended listing right there for you. Not only can your client, backtrack here, your client scrolling down can view all of the properties that meet their criteria in this grid form here. They can, they can do it in a thumbnail view. They can do it in a tile view, so it can look like it is on a Realtor.com. They can even click it on a map view if they want to see where the properties are in proximity to one another. In each case, when they scroll down, they can click on the property. Notice we have view detail. And it's going to pull up a client detail report form. So it is a, oh, wow, I really picked a heck of a property there. All wood windows. That's got to be a selling point, right? Anyways, so it's a fully realized client detail report. They can scroll through all the photos. It's going to give them their client detail information. Out to the right-hand side, if there are any comments that they want to leave about the property, they can do so. Once they click submit, it gets emailed directly to you. They can request a showing. They can put in the time, date and time, put in comments. Once they click submit, that also goes directly to you so you can reach out and set up a showing for that property. And as we scroll through, you'll have your valuations. They throw in the easy value, which is Black Knights, along with this estimate. I'll be honest with you, a lot of times there are wide swings within those valuations that are there. They, I find, are most effectively used as examples for you to come up with your own CMA and your own valuation and say, just so you know, this is what the market's showing, but this is what the valuations are, and it makes you look a little more on the nose because you know how things are going a little better than Black Knight and Zillow are. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. We also have a mortgage calculator. Community review reports. We've got demographics, information on the school system, amenities and business, and home sale trends. This is all brand new, by the way. This was not here yesterday. So I'm only scrolling through because this is the first time I've ever seen this stuff. This is a lot of great information here. Community summary, housing inventory, population demographics, climate and weather. And this is stuff that's going out to the client. So this is all a fully fleshed out client portal for them to use. So they're going to get all that information based on every single individual property that shows up on the page. So they can go through and they can mark these, rate them however they want. And then once they scroll to the top, as you can see, all of those numbers start to get parsed down. Did I select them? Boom, boom. Do one more. I know it's being counted. I guess when I refresh the page, these numbers will be updated. But the real strength and the real power of this page and the real thing that I wanted to show you here is not only is it a great tool for you to untether someone from an email so they have the ability to search through the listings that you send and send to them that meet their criteria however they need to. They can take their time. They can do it at any time of the day. It just makes it a clean landing page for them to get information about listings. But if you go up to the top left portion of the screen, we've got a little hamburger button here. If I click on this button and then I go down to the second choice, notice it says property search. Well, now, not only are they going to see everything that you've set up for them within this Client Collab Center, but now the page turns into a public portal for them. So your client now can go through, search by address and radius, list price, beds, baths. They're not going to deal with property type because it's only going to be limited to what you set up for them. Same with status. But they can even put in acreage and they can search. So let's say I'm over here and I'm looking at these properties. I can click on this property here. It's going to pull up the information. And even though this is not a listing that has anything to do with the search that I've set up for this client, I can view the detail report for this individual listing. I can put in additional options for the listing if I want to send it out or email it to someone, but I can also go through here. I can rate this property. I can say I like it, I don't like it, or I'm on the fence about it. And just like we did with the other properties, if I go through here, they can put in a comment on it. They can request a showing on it. And because it's underneath your branded web presence, you are the point of contact for them. So they could be, you could set up the initial search in Villa Rica and they could find something in Macon. And even though it's Macon and that's not your area, then since they found it underneath your Collab Center page, You become that point of contact for that showing to be requested. And yeah, that's the big kicker for the Collab Center. Ever since they opened this up and allowed for the public searches, we've had a huge uptick in the usage by our members, just because it kind of solves all bases. It covers all bases, rather. It allows for you to go in and have a modified email drip that they can use, but also gives them a landing page that they can gain access to, that they can share with family members. And it makes you the point of contact for anything that they see, because it opens up the MLS and basically creates a personalized a public website for them to search through all of our listings for. Make sense?
And that's wonderful. Actually, I have some clients that I work with occasionally, and they have done a lot of collaboration, and that's how I always set them up, simply because with COVID-19 right now, a lot more people are searching online.
Yeah. And that's also, you bring up a great point. That's also a great explanation and reason why we've had such an uptick on it. We've seen huge increases in that, our virtual tours and open houses, and I believe even Showing Time now offers up virtual showings. So it's the slight adjustments like that seem to be making a world of difference, especially as people make adjustments to, like you said, what's going on with COVID. But yeah, it's a very versatile tool. I think the best part about it from a trainer's perspective is that it's very straightforward. It literally is a 3-step process: create the contact, create the search, figure out how they're going to receive the information. I always recommend, in every class that I've ever taught where I show the Collab Center, I always recommend the first thing to do, especially if you're a new agent, create yourself as a contact. Set yourself up for an initial search, whether it's an email drip or a Collab Center, in your marketable area. What that's going to do is it's going to allow for you to know that you know how to do a search, you know how to save that search, you know how to create a contact, but you'll also get a report that's going to give you, updates on properties in your area and give you a better idea of what's going on in your local market. It's kind of a cure-all activity to do, and it's very simplistic. Like I said, once you get it down and you don't have to explain it to someone, or once I don't have to explain it to someone, for me to start with a client and end with a Collab Center with listings in it is less than a 5-minute process. All you have to do, again, is create that contact. All we need is the first name, last name, and email address. Figure out the search that you want or what their needs are for their criteria, and then just decide if they want to get that Collab Center or if they want to go by an email. Just that easy.
And really quick, the Collab Center, like Greg said earlier, if you set yourself up, and if you're geographic farming an area, and this is where you put status change, like we mentioned earlier, this will help you be an expert in that particular geographic farming, because you know exactly what price is going under pending, what's selling, what price is being looked at. So this is a tool for you to be an expert of either subdivision, an area, or whatever you set yourself up on as well.
Yeah. Everything that makes sense. Yeah. She knows what she's talking about, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Rick.
No problem. I speak the truth, as do you. So if anybody has any questions, guys, feel free to launch them at me. Otherwise, just so you're all aware, my email address is Greg, G-R-E-G, at GAMLS.com. If you ever run into any hiccups pertaining to any of the products and services that we have, don't hesitate to drop me a line. Whether it's me I can send you a YouTube link, I can give you a call and walk you through whatever issue you have, or if it's something big enough that maybe we need to have a dedicated webinar on, as I've stated before, I will gladly change the subject of a webinar to meet whatever needs our members have. So use me as a resource, guys. It's what I'm here for. All right?
Thank you.
No problem. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions, thank you very much for having me today, guys. This was fun. Like I said, I would love to come back whenever you guys need me. If after this, if you guys kick the tires on some parts of the system and you see there's something that you'd like to see covered, just let me know. Reach out. I can come on board any Thursday and cover whatever you need in regards to our products and services. All right. Well, thank you
Hey,
very
Greg,
much.
really quick,
Yeah.
just really quick, do you guys have any new tools that's coming up that's really cool as far as virtual? Because what we're seeing is a shift between traditional versus a lot of virtual now. So, and I'm not trying to, compete or anything, but I do know the other services they have, some part is lead generation through Remind.
Right.
And so I wasn't sure if that is something that Georgia MLS would want to offer, because right now there's a paid service, and whereas the other one is not.
Well,
so I just want to see where we are.
Well, just so you're aware, it's not a paid service over across town, because that is taking over as their flagship system. So contractually, and right now I'm definitely over my skis. I'm talking about my pay grade, but we won't be getting the full version of Remind because they are turning Remind into their version of Paragon over there. So we still have the base free level of that. In regards to new tech that we have coming down the pipeline, Ditto is the probably the biggest new thing that we have. That is just a listing aggregator that now, especially if you're a dual member of Georgia MLS and FMLS, you have the ability to pull listings from FMLS into Georgia MLS, but we just unlocked it, so you also have the ability to push listings from Georgia MLS into FMLS. So depending on
is that the Ditto as well?
That is Ditto. That is Ditto. And we can easily talk about that one the next time around. It's fairly straightforward. It's also really popular because two reasons actually. One, our membership is pretty much split 50-50. Half of our members use Paragon, half of our members use the homepage, depending on what their needs are. And with Ditto, you can now access and do listing input from the homepage, which a lot of people like, especially considering they can walk through their house on their tablet and fill out their information. Along with that, it has really helped, especially for people that belong to both MLSs. And let's be honest, the lion's share of our members in the state of Georgia belong to multiple MLSs because there are 26 other MLSs to begin with. And by doing that, that's why we're trying to have agreements with other MLSs, just to open those doors to make it easier for you guys to get all of your information into all of the MLSs that you have without having to manually enter them into each one. So it's kind of a gap stop for those people that don't necessarily want to have to pay for a bridge. Or something.
we have them. So
there we go.
I would like to get rid of them, but for convenience, right now it's great. The only thing I actually attempt to try to use Ditto, just so you know, and some of the functionality, it doesn't seem like it imports as well, and I have to go back and redo it. Probably a third of the information.
Well, there's. When was the last time you entered something into Ditto? And I only say that because it's been
over 6 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I would definitely try it again. It was kind of in the beta stage back then. One of the main reasons for that is with all of the infrastructure changeover that was going over with First MLS in regards to them integrating Remind, a lot of their workflow had changed. And the biggest notification that things have been fixed was now that you can push the listings out to them as well, means that the SEO for the fields has all been lined up now. So the experience is a lot easier. About 10% of our listings are already going into the system through Ditto now. So it's surprisingly popular. We have more listings going in through there or I should say, more listings are going into FMLS now through Ditto than are actually going in through Remind, which is weird. But so it's taken off. It's popular. The other thing that I would say is news coming down the pipeline that we could easily talk about is, and you guys may be the first people to know this, but I believe starting in February, the contracts have already been signed. So we're going to be offering the Cloud CMA Suite. So that's just another tool in your toolbox and feather in your cap for products and services for Georgia MLS. Like I said, I can talk about anything that you guys want. I can cover those things. I know we're going to be doing a big push with the Cloud CMA because while our members that are dual members with First MLS are familiar with it, everybody else isn't. So we'll be doing a lot of training on that as well.
Okay,
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Hello. Yeah, hi. I had a question. Last night I was entering a listing. I did it in Bridge because when I tried to do it in Ditto, it seems like I couldn't enter it both at the same time. So are you saying that you have to enter it in one of the MLSs first and then pull it into the Ditto?
Ditto exists if you want to, it's for three reasons. One, if you want to enter in a listing that brand new into Georgia MLS that hasn't been into the system before, and you want to just like you would enter it into Paragon, you can enter it into Ditto. Two, if you got a listing that's either in Georgia MLS that you want to push into FMLS, or if you have a listing that's in FMLS that you want to push into Georgia MLS, you can pull that information in through Ditto. You can also clone listings and move a listing across property types with Ditto. Bridge is unique in that Bridge allows for you to enter it in once and it shoots it into both MLSs. Ditto doesn't necessarily work that way. With Ditto, it has to already either be in a list in one of the services, or you need to enter it in fresh. So if you enter it in to, once you enter it into Ditto, you could then push it out to FMLS, but you're not going to be able to just put it in through something and then have it automatically go into both. It would need to be into one or the other to push it to the other. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Will you also get with Greg about setting up Ditto training, please?
Will do.
Perfect.
Thank you, Greg. We really appreciate you. This is a good class.
Oh, no problem. I'm glad I could help, guys. Anytime you need me, you know I like Max 1. Just let me know and I'll be there, okay?
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Greg.
You guys have a great one.